This courtroom drama kicks off with Mr. Thomas asking for a DNA test, unsure if he's the father of 15-month-old Hannah. He's already paying child support after signing the birth certificate under questionable circumstances, while Ms. Zachary insists he's the dad. Sparks start flying right away.
Mr. Thomas, you claim you've been petitioning the court system for a DNA test for 15-month-old Hannah Thomas for more than a year now. Now, you've been notified that you will be paying support because you signed the birth certificate, but claim it was under false pretenses.
Mr. Thomas expected a check in the mail, but instead found out half his paycheck would go to child support. Ms. Zachary says he knew this because of government assistance rules, sparking an argument. Just as you think they might settle down, things get messier with the pregnancy timeline.
2 weeks ago, Your Honor, I went to the mailbox thinking I'm getting a check, and unluckily, I end up getting a paper from child support saying that half my wage is going to be taken.
I don't mean to cut him off, but that is a lie, what he's saying. He knew that he was going to pay child support because I receive a medical card. I also receive cash assistance. I have to cooperate with child support in order to receive those assistance.
Mr. Thomas initially supported Ms. Zachary's pregnancy, but grew suspicious when the timeline didn't add up. Ms. Zachary revealed she was pregnant with twins, though sadly, one didn't survive. The courtroom then dives into what happened during their break.
Kaya was separated towards July, maybe for a couple weeks. August, we got back together, towards the end of September, she told me I feel pregnant. And we went to buy like maybe 4 or 5 pregnancy tests.
I went to that doctor's appointment and I came home. I handed him the papers. This is my results at the doctor. This is my proof of pregnancy.
No, Your Honor, I never received any paperwork, Your Honor.
Ms. Zachary admits seeing someone else during their break, which fuels Mr. Thomas's doubts about being the father. She insists she was honest when they reunited, but they argue about what counts as a break. Things get awkward fast, especially with their agreement at the hospital.
I had been on a break for over a month and a half when I was with the other guy in July.
Your Honor,
we got back together the end of July, beginning of August.
Kaya's a dirty fighter, Your Honor. We've been together almost 6 years. Break for us is I'm leaving out the house, I'm going to go to my parents' house for a while, or you leave and you go with your mom or something like that.
No, that's not a break.
Then we're always back together within a month time.
Mr. Thomas signed the birth certificate under an agreement to step up if the real dad stayed away. As time passed, his doubts grew, and their family secret plan unraveled. The tension heats up again when the story shifts to what happened after Hannah's birth.
She had her sister come get the children. I came up to the hospital. I was with her the whole night, all until she had the baby. I was there. It was no problem. If he didn't have any part, I would sign a birth certificate and Hannah would never know a thing. Nobody would never know a thing. This would be the biggest family secret that we ever had. And I had no problem with that because I'm not going to let just someone come in and destroy my family. Like, it just don't.
You destroyed your family.
It just don't leave that easy.
He destroyed his family.
Mr. Thomas accuses Ms. Zachary of seeing the other guy even after Hannah was born, with evidence like contacts labeled Hannah's dad. Ms. Zachary doesn't deny it, causing gasps throughout the courtroom. Then a surprise witness steps in with more revelations.
She was still sleeping with this man after Hannah was born.
Yes, I was. Because we decided that we wasn't going to be together. Been on and off for 5 years.
The guy, he just slept with her 2 weeks ago. My bed. She didn't go to his house. She didn't go to a hotel. It was the bed that we shared.
Mr. Hill, Mr. Thomas's uncle, claims Ms. Zachary once showed him a photo of Hannah's supposed father. He kept it to himself to avoid involvement. Ms. Zachary says she only brought it up because Mr. Thomas already suspected something.
I don't think that he is the father of Hannah.
You don't?
And the reason why is because she just don't look like him. And another reason ever, because I just didn't want no parts of it. I didn't want to get into it. She has shown me pictures of who she really thought was the baby's dad.
Mr. Thomas, in tears, shares his love for Hannah and the other kids, even if she isn't his. Mrs. Zachary admits her mistakes and hopes for confirmation so they can move forward. Emotions are high as they await the DNA results.
I've been okay with saying maybe she's mine, maybe she's not, but maybe she's mine, I've been okay with that, When I find out these results, it's going to be like 99.999. Like, it's nothing, and I don't know what that'll do to me because I love this girl just like she's mine.
Mr. Thomas, you are her father.
Harrison is not here to play. He is suing Ms. Grant for paternity fraud. He's claiming he's not their daughter's real father and that she totally played him into believing he was. Yikes! That's a serious accusation. But let's buckle up and see how this drama unfolds.
Harrison, explain, why are you suing for fraud?
Well, Your Honor, I signed my acknowledgement for paternity for my daughter, and I've done everything for her since the day she's been born. I've had several people come to me through Facebook and through text messaging on my phone.
All right, Ms. Grant gets a point for that one. She's absolutely right, Mr. Harrison. That's what happens when you make a baby with someone else. You share those genes. So it's pretty unrealistic to expect the kid to look exactly like you. Come on, Mr. Harrison, get with the program.
She got upset and she said, I just don't want to do this anymore. I just don't want to do it anymore.
I didn't want to have to keep lying to him, Your Honor. I got tired of, being dishonest and being disrespectful in my relationship. And I gave him every option to, decide what he wanted to do.
Wait, so Ms. Grant's been cheating the whole time they were together? That's wild. She finally came clean just because she was sick of dragging him along and dealing with all that frustration. Wow, what a piece of work.
Help me move the washer turns into, I just don't want to do this.
It turns into him getting frustrated and fussing and cursing. And I said, you know what? I can't do this anymore with you.
It makes sense. It's crazy how all that built-up frustration in their relationship made even a simple task blow up into a huge issue. Who knew that bringing in the washer would be the final straw for both of them? That really led to the end of their relationship.
This person was a friend of mine. I had met this person when I was 18 years old. I was a single parent of a 2-year-old daughter at the time. He helped me with her. He helped me financially. He has bought cars. He has paid rent. He has paid bills, okay?
All right, Ms. Grant, what a friend you've got there. Cars and all, huh? It's nice that this person stepped in and filled the gaps that other men couldn't. But let's be real, it's still pretty messed up that she kept this secret from her husband for all those years.
Was this strictly platonic or was this a sexual relationship?
At times it was sexual, but for the most part, it was platonic while I was with Mr. Harrison.
But this whole
And
time,
how
she
did
would sit there and go run off.
How did you manage to do this for 15 years, but 8 years while you were with Mr. Harrison?
This woman just confessed that it wasn't just a casual, platonic friendship. Can you believe that? So for all those 15 years, she was juggling 2 relationships, sometimes even at the same time. It seems like she's finally ready to take responsibility for the lies she told and the truth she tried to hide. That response was wild. What a real liar.
What about all your misdeeds?
Every single
Don't sit
one
there
of
and
them.
act like you haven't cheated on me.
I'm not saying
He
that.
cheated on me with someone who is, he's an indie pro wrestler. He cheated on me with someone who they call ring rats. They call them ring rats for a reason, Your Honor.
Okay.
Whoa, so he cheated as well. This is getting juicy. A ring rat, huh? Looks like Ms. Grant is racking up another point. It's starting to feel like these two showed up in court just to unload all their marital issues on Judge Lake from the get-go.
So do you also admit, Ms. Grant, to basically defrauding him, basically saying this is your child when you knew for certain that it was not his child? Did you?
All right then. So that's what he's suing her for. Ms. Grant admits she might have twisted the truth at key moments in their relationship, but there's one thing she won't accept: the idea that she lied about their daughter's paternity. She insists she never did that.
I have people right now telling me that I ought to be ashamed of myself for even being here to prove to this man who I am in love with at this very moment, even though he is accusing me of not knowing who the father of my child is, that I ought to be ashamed of myself wanting to come in front of you and prove to him and the rest of the world that yes, I've done wrong, but I'm willing to admit that and I'm willing to right those wrongs.
Ms. Grant is completely losing it in the courtroom. She knows she's lied to him before and admits it, but paternity fraud? Oh, no way. She's not accepting that accusation. It's starting to feel like there's nothing more to discuss with Mr. Harrison. If your husband doesn't trust a single word you say after 8 years of marriage, that speaks volumes.
Mr. Harrison, you are her father.
I told you.
How do you feel, Ms. Grant?
I feel vindicated, Your Honor.
Robertson spills the tea about her wild ride starting at age 8 when she found out the dude she called dad wasn't her bio dad. Her mom pointed to Mr. McBain Sr., standing awkwardly as the defendant, and was like, yup, he's the one. Ms. Robertson, tired of the dad drama, hauled Mr. McBain to court to clear the air once and for all.
Ms. Robertson, your world was turned upside down at the age of 8 when you received the shocking news that the man you believed to be your biological father was not. You were informed that the defendant, Mr. McBain Sr., is your father. You've dragged him to court to prove that today.
Mr. McBain Sr. steps up, totally denying he's the father, thanks to a soap opera-worthy plot involving his military days and his then-wife's supposed side hustles. He's all, nope, not the daddy, with the confidence of someone who's watched one too many Maury episodes. He's convinced he's not the dad because, plot twist, he has receipts, or so he claims.
And you say during your military career you were married to the plaintiff's mother. However, you're certain that you are not her father because you claim her mother was was unfaithful, and you have proof.
Ms. Robertson throws back to a quirky childhood memory where her mom literally flipped open a phone book, pointed to Mr. McBain's name, declared, "Bingo, that's your dad." Little did she know, this random phone book moment would turn into a full-blown family mystery. At 8, she shrugged it off, but now she's like, wait a minute.
When I was 8 years old, my mother had sat me down. She had found Mr. McBain in the phone book, and she said, "This is your biological father right here."
She pointed him out in the phone book.
Yes, Your Honor. From that point, I didn't really think anything of it. I was 8 years old. It was kind of like it was nothing.
Ms. Robertson is baffled why Mr. McBain's name is chilling on her birth certificate if he's so sure he isn't her dad. She's waving around proof like a detective, and even the judge is leaning in for a better look. There's a vibe in the air that something big's about to drop, and Ms. Robertson is all in for finding the truth.
If he's denying it, why is his name on my birth certificate? Why did he sign his rights away? I have proof right here.
I can see it's still affecting you, even as an adult woman. This
Yes, Your
memory
Honor.
of being told this at 8 years old and having so many unanswered questions.
Yes, my name may be on there, Your Honor. However, it's on there because the state put it on there. I had nothing to do with putting my name on her birth certificate.
Mr. McBain explains why his name ended up on the birth cert despite his protests. He was roped in by marriage laws, typical bureaucracy stuff. He also mentions letting another guy adopt Ms. Robertson because, well, drama. He's making it sound like he was just trying to do right by her, even though he's adamant about the not the dad bit.
Yeah.
So your name was automatically placed on the birth certificate as father. But even in that moment at the hospital,
I wasn't there.
you weren't there, but you would not have voluntarily placed your name on the birth certificate.
That's one of the reasons why I let Mr. Ayers go ahead and adopt her, because she did deserve to have a father. It's not her fault who her mother is.
Years later, Ms. Robertson had a super brief meetup with Mr. McBain, which ended with him ghosting her like a bad Tinder date. She recalls this moment with the kind of sadness that would win her an Oscar. Mr. McBain, on the other hand, acts like he's hearing this story for the first time.
I let it go until I turned right before my 13th birthday. And that's when I had told my mother that all I wanted for my 13th birthday was to meet Mr. McBain.
What did she say?
She got it for me.
I
did.
don't remember that at all.
Ms. Robertson, what do you remember?
It only lasted about 40 minutes. That was like more than anything in the world for me at that time.
In the middle of the courtroom, Mr. McBain throws down accusations like confetti at a parade, suggesting Ms. Graham, the mom, was playing the field while they were married. He's like a detective in a bad cop show, pointing out mismatched boots and coats as evidence of her infidelity. Ms. Graham's defense? A sassy. Those are your boots, buddy.
Was working 7 days a week for about 3 months straight. Went back home, and as I'm walking across the living room, I look over and there's a pair of boots and a coat on the floor and a coat on.
Your Honor, those were his boots and his coat.
They were size 10, Your Honor. I wear size 12. I walked over to her room. I beat on the door. I said, "I don't know who you are in there, but you've got 30 seconds to get out of my house, or you're going to be really sorry."
Mr. McBain pulls out the wild card, suggesting another dude could be the dad, because, get this, he was supposedly sterile at the time. He throws in some details about the other guy's heritage, gets a twist in a bad detective novel. The court can't help but chuckle at his attempt to connect the dots in such a bizarre way.
Excuse me. And who is that?
It was an individual I was stationed with.
Yeah, you were stationed with a lot.
I know, and
But
so were
did-
you. The Coast Guard telling me I was sterile. The fact that the man's Hawaiian, he's Samoan.
Your Honor, this girl is white as white could be.
You're saying the other guy is Samoan.
Yes.
Ms. Robertson shares her deep yearning to connect with her roots and possibly siblings, making everyone in the courtroom reach for the tissues. It's a touching moment where she's just looking for a bit of closure and a few answers about where she comes from. Despite the courtroom chaos, her quest for family ties is seriously heartwarming.
Even if your account is true, even if she was sleeping around, if she was your wife and you were also sleeping with her, couldn't you potentially be Ms. Robertson's biological father?
I don't feel that she looks like me as much like me as she thinks she does. Also, due to the fact of what the Coast Guard told me, and due to the fact that Miss Graham is a cheater.
The moment of truth arrives.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. McBain Sr., you are not her father.
She feel like I'm a good man. I'm working, taking care of my family, my brothers and nephews. So she feel like I'm the guy for her to be this child, because he's gonna be responsible and he's gonna do what he gotta do to take care of this child. But I feel like if this his old lady and this his wife, his fiance, why can't he be the man?
Mr. Covington thinks she wants him to be the father because he's better suited to be a father.
Mr. Seymour, you are not the father.
The DNA tests prove that not only was Mr. Seymour not the father, neither was Mr. Covington the child, while the real father probably doesn't even know he